All right, guys. So now last time we all hung out, we finished building out this archive page for each of our categories, as well as our all classified page up here. And now next up, we need to go ahead and target the single classifieds page. Now, what's awesome about this, we're going to build this one single time, and it's not going to be that hard. I promise you. Now, if we go back and look at what our single post page looks like right now, you'll see that it is nothing to smile about, and it actually doesn't even have most of the details. Just like our archive pages before, we're going to go ahead and use Divi Machine modules to go ahead and build these out in the theme builder using a template for them. So why don't we get right to that and jump to our theme builder. Now, here on our theme builder page, we'll of course see all of the archive pages that we've created, the one for all the classifieds, and then one for each of the categories, of course. So we're going to be adding a new template. So we're going to say build a new template. And then we're going to scroll down. And now this is probably starting to get a little bit more familiar to you. I will go down to the classifieds, and we're just going to say all classifieds. And we're going to say create a template. And we're selecting all classifieds because we want to just use one template for all of them. Now, if you wanted to create specific templates for each of your, post type, not post types necessarily, but you could do it for post types too. But if you wanted to do it for a specific category, specific product type, or anything like that, you would just basically go specify classifieds and then select the product. But you can go by category. You can just do pretty much anything you want. So learning how to do it with just the all classifieds is going to give you the tools to go ahead and be more specific. What's another great way for saying be more specific is more bespoke. And that is where the money lies when working with clients and building out sites using custom post types, Divi and Divi Machine. Okay, so let's click on create, and then it's going to do its thinking. And then here we are with our all classifieds. We're going to add a body, and then we're going to say build body. Right. Okay, cool. So now before I start adding a bunch of columns and stuff on here, let's first take a look and see what we've got going on. Looks like we've got a 2/3, 1/3 column row, or row set up with columns that are 2/3 and 1/3. So I think it's using that all the way through. Then we've got the sticky options in Divi working in there. We've got a nice map on there to show us where the product is. And of course, you notice this zoom effect. You can disable those controls in the settings for the map module. So keep that in mind. Great. And then we're just going to be using, looks like our gallery module, which is also beautiful. And I love how that works. And, just those same modules that we used before, we're going to be using the ACF item module to display that because that's, of course, a custom field. We're going to use the meta to display this. And it looks like the button's still active on this one, but we want to disable that, and we will disable that. And then we are going to make sure that we've got that setting on here that if we're not looking at vehicles, so that's for sale, let's maybe just go to pet. So yeah, we've got Monty. And you can see the price is not there because, of course, Monty is not for sale. These are also a bunch of ACF item modules here, which is basically just pulling that information from our advanced custom fields associated with the current post. So let's go and start building this out right now. I'm going to add a row. And then, like I said, it is the 2/3, 1/3 layout. So I'm going to click on that one. And then the first thing, you guys know how I like to do this already. I like to add my content, and then I like to go ahead and style them up. But if you prefer to do the styling first, it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. I like to see what I'm working with on the page before I start making it look the way I want to, because it gives me a wireframe almost of this, but it depends on your planning approach too. If you plan from the beginning and you sketch this out and you know exactly what you want it to look like, maybe you've got a PSD file that you got from a client and they say, this is what I want, or maybe there's a website that you're trying to copy, it's your world. Do it the way you want to. This is what works for me the best. But of course, we're all different in the way we approach problems. Cool. So the first module, and I know this already, this is going to be the gallery module. We are going to type in gallery, or you can scroll down, but here is the gallery slider. And then it's going to want us to select all the information. Now, the type that we're going to be using here is going to be the slider, but you've got the option of using the grid. Once we've added everything in, I'll kind of show you the difference between those, if I remember. So we're going to say that this is going to be a group field with image fields inside. And this is a smart way that Divi Machine kind of works around the requirement to have the pro version of ACF just by using a group field and all the images. Now we're going to select the ACF group name. And of course, we already know it's going to be gallery. It's going to do some thinking, and now it's starting to pull stuff up. And then one way and one cool thing about Divi Machine too, especially when you're working in the theme builder like this, you can tell it what type of data we're working with. So you can just go to the page settings. You go to Divi Engine, Visual Builder, and then you can just go select the post type that you're working with. And you can see that our classifieds are right in there. And if I save that and reload the page, it should start pulling some of that data for us. But of course, you're going to have to save the template first before you do that. We're not going to get into that just this second. So you might also come into a situation where you see that something like that's loading, you can't click on it. Of course, as I mentioned to you guys before, if I move my face back over this way and expand this over here, we'll just open up module view and then we can get back into the settings quite easily, just like this. Now we want to say, okay, well, do we want to include the featured image in the gallery? I actually, when I went ahead and set all of this up, I added my featured image into one of those 4 gallery images. So I'm not going to be enabling this, but you certainly can if that is how you want to do it. And then you can also, of course, enable the lightbox. That's also something I'm not going to do. I don't think that works aesthetically with the site. And then when I'm coming down here and opening up slider settings, you can see that there's a bunch of different options as far as the slider settings goes. So, it really ends up being how you foresee this going or how you want it to be on your site. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of other settings in here. They're mostly quite self-explanatory. So if you want to get into it more, you can definitely check out the documentation on the Divi Engine site. Now, the one thing I do want to add here is a bit of a slide gap. And you can choose the gap here. And I'm just going to put 5 in there, which is going to be 5 pixels. I'm going to save this because I want to save the layout because I want to see if we can see what we're doing as we're going through this. It just makes life a little easier. So saving that, remember the double save when it's a new template. We'll go to all classifieds and it'll start loading up. And there we go. We've got Monty in here and there's all of his cuteness. And we can kind of get an idea of what this is going to end up looking like, right? So we've got these sliders here and that looks pretty good. So let's go back into the settings for the module. Okay, so we're going to scroll down here and now we looked at the slider settings. Let's look at the desktop slider settings. Now we can see that there's way too many pictures here. We know that we will only at most ever have 4 images. So unless you include the featured image, then it'd be 5. But I'm just going to put 3 in here. And now you can kind of see that we've got a little bit more uniformity here and these images look a bit better and there's no repeat images. So let's keep coming down. Okay, now it kind of looks like some of the settings didn't take. So I'm going to come back up here and make sure that these things are configured correctly. I'm going to put 5 pixels in here for that gap. And okay, now you can see the gap popping in and maybe it was something to do with not having the right preview data. When I also come up to the top here, you want to make sure that you're for the ACF group image name, that you do put that in there. And just to show you guys, over here, I do have this open. If we go to gallery and we look here, we can see that the name is image_12345, or is 4, sorry. And that is what we did when we initially set those up. We did that intentionally, and this is why. You want to go ahead and put in image, and then it's telling you here, it will add the _1, just so that it knows what images to look for to loop through in there. We still got these off, so that's good. And then we'll just come down back here to the slider desktop settings. It's going to be 1, slide to scroll 1. That's fine. And actually, since we're only using 4 of these, I don't think it's necessary to have the arrows on there. So I'm going to go ahead and take mine off. So also on the slider settings up here, I'll just turn the arrows off. And I think that it's going to work just fine. We've got the dots on here. Enable, disable. There the dots go now. Okay, perfect. We don't want infinite scrolling, center mode, all that other stuff is fine. You can put autoplay on if you wanted to. We're not going to be doing that. So moving down a little bit further, we can see that there are different grid settings. Now I mentioned that I can show you guys some different options here. Not much to see here. We would need to look at the front end, but I'm pretty happy with the way this is coming together now, because if we look here, we are actually pretty close to the layout, if not exactly the same. So I think we're about ready to actually save this. Now, the one thing that we're still going to need is that ACF item module that's going to be appearing there. So let's add that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and add ACF item module. We already know what the ACF name is. It's going to be status. Great. And then again, we're going to tell it that we do not want to see the label. So we come to label here. We switch that right off. And we will continue scrolling down. Visibility, as always, you want it to be visible, but hide when that value is empty. We're going to scroll down further, and then we want to set the background to be white. So there we go. We've got the white color. Well, we'll do the design part here in a second, actually. So let's just wait on that for a moment. And we'll just look over here again really quick. It looks like I need to set the section background to gray, but we'll do that in the design section again. I think we're about ready to start putting in the owner info on the right-hand side. So coming back over here, we'll just add a text module. And then we're just going to go ahead and select that. And we'll just put contact info, because maybe the owner is not the same as the contact person, right? Great. And that is all we're going to do with that for now. I'm going to scroll down, though, and set this background to white just explicitly, because we're going to be changing this other background in a second. Okay, so now we can go ahead and put some ACF item modules. So ACF item module, and let's look at what we've got here. We've got the contact name, contact phone number, contact email, right? So that's going to be 3 ACF item modules. So pop back here, put the first one in, and then we go. It's going to be contact name. Oh, you can scroll down, or actually stay up here. We don't want the label. I think the label doesn't look that fantastic, but what we do want is an image and icon. We'll be using an icon. And then if we say profile, you'll get this little person. Maybe we'll use this one. Doesn't update immediately, but on the front end, if we save this, actually, let's go ahead and save this. I want to show you guys, since we saved this layout already, saving that. So here we've got this Lux house that we had before. If I refresh that, you can see that this is already kind of coming together, right? So nice and easy. We haven't done all that much just yet, but it is all slowly coming together. So we've got our icons here. It definitely needs some styling love, but let's just get that content on here. So let's go ahead and add another ACF item module, ACFs. Add that one in. And then again, now it's going to be the contact phone number. We'll disable the label again. And then we'll come back down here to the image and icon, switch that on, and then we'll put in phone. What do we feel like? Cell phone? Everybody has a cell phone. All right. And that's all we do for that one. Great. Next up, one more. ACF item. That's going to be for the email. So contact email, label, switch that off. And then image icon. And we will type in email. And there we go. We've got a bunch of options here. I like that one. Cool. Now let's go ahead and save that one. And now we're ready to add another row. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to do the exact same type of row. It's the 2/3, 1/3. And then when we look over here, what we're going to want to do is we're going to do the post title and then the category. Here we go. We can just type in post for post title, right? Well, that's not that efficient, but it is down here. So there we go. We'll keep it as a H1. It's got to be Monty. Get the post from there. And that's really all we do with that. Next, it's going to be a meta field, because the meta contains all those meta elements, the taxonomy, stuff like that. Anything that's really not directly tied or added on with the ACF, that's not a field that's been added. So meta, we're going to add a meta item, and then we'll choose it. And it's going to be category. No, it's not going to be category. It's going to be custom taxonomy. It's going to be from classifieds. And we will come down here. Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't look like this has been selected correctly. So let's just come back up here. I must have misclicked it. Custom taxonomy. There we go. And now we can go ahead and select our item types over here. It's on post classifieds. So that is all good. Now, we don't want the label to be shown, because we are going to be turning it into a button. And we're also not going to be linking items, because we don't want it to be active. So when we go to specific settings, it says, okay, well, show the value as a button. Absolutely. That's what we want to do. And then I think that's going to be it for this part right here. So we'll go to the design in the next step and set that up. So it looks perfect. And that is it for the post meta. Okay. And then lastly, and I'm going to go to the module view here. It's a little bit easier. I know that we need to add another ACF item module for the price, in case that is the item that's for sale. So we're going to go ahead and select price from our list over here. We are not going to be displaying label. And we'll be using the image and icon again. Turn on the icon. I don't know if money would bring that up, would it? Yeah, no, it actually does. So here is the icon that we use for the money symbol. So that's perfect right there. And we'll go ahead and save that up. Now, if we go further down, it looks like 2 more things left to do here. And then we're all done with the building part. And then we get to the fun design, is adding the summary. So that's going to be the content or the description and the map. So let's get busy. That's not going to take too long. So we'll add another 3-column row, same size. And first module we'll add is just a normal text module. You can go ahead and put a H1, H2 here and do things all in one module. Again, I just like to do it a little bit differently, only because it gives me the flexibility to go ahead and modify each one of these individually. So let's just go put your info or information. It's probably the more formal way to go ahead and put that in there. So good, information. And lastly, in this row and column, we're going to put a post content module to get the content in there. And then basically we're just going to put all that is said in the content section right over there. So we're not going to mess around with that too much. So we can go ahead and save that. Okay, so one more thing to do. We're going to add another row here. I'm going to just close this out. Alrighty, so I clicked the wrong place, but it's fine. I can just drag that down. That's going to be fine. And then I'm just going to add another text module. Say text. And then we're going to say last seen. Or maybe you just say location. Why not just say location? That's easier. Cool. So that is all good in the hood. I'm going to just drag this up here because I know these are out of order. And I'm going to type in map because we need a map module. I'm going to click that in there. And now you can go ahead and add a pin. You know, it depends on what relevance you want to use, but it's going to read the info from our field. So now in the map module, you can see that you can put a center for the map and stuff like that. I am just going to leave this blank because what it's going to do, it's going to pull in the location of the item since we do have that encoded into our post type. So I'm going to just go here to add a pin. We'll just give it text and say map, for example. And well, actually, I'm going to leave mine clear. So I'm just going to save that. I'm going to save that. And then let's save the page. Or the layout, I should say rather. So we'll come back here to our layout that we looked at a moment ago and we'll refresh the page. And there we go. We have all of our information here. We can see the location of the house. We can go to lost and found just to show that it works across various items. This is a post that I added. Here we've got zip on here. And when we zoom out here, you can see that we are indeed in Cape Town. Great. So now the only thing that's left is to go ahead and style all this stuff. All right. So we just want to add the white background to the background there. So we're going to go back to the theme builder. So we're going to select our first column here. And there's a couple extra things that we do want to do though. So let's go and we go to the column. And then what we're going to do is go to, well, first background. We'll set that color to white. You can kind of see how the white popped out right there. That's perfect. That's what we wanted to do. And we're going to go to design. We'll say border. And then we're going to add 10 pixels of rounding, maybe 15. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. We're not going to put it on the bottom though. So let's unlink this. And we'll just delete this out of there. Because what we're going to make this do is make it look like it's just like one column coming down. And then, of course, on the map on the bottom, we'll go ahead and add some rounding to just round that out at the end. Okay, so there we go with that. We do need to save that, of course. And then also here's our second column. We're going to do the same for that. So background, we'll set to white. And then we'll also go here on the design border. We'll unlink it. We'll give that 15 and another 15. Actually, we can keep this link because this is the only little portion here. Now, it also looks like I want to be adding some padding, internal padding here on this one. So let's go to the spacing and then we'll just add 10 pixels. How's that looking? 10. We'll combine that, add another 10 left and right. Yeah, that works for me. Now you can, of course, go crazy with it if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that for, oh no, actually there's one more thing I wanted to do with that column. Now, of course, what we're going to want to do is make sure that this sticks up here. So I'm going to hop back and that is not that hard to do. We're just going to use some Divi settings and we'll hop over here to the, well, first we go to the second column. We'll go to advanced. Pull this over here so you can better see. You're going to go to scroll effects. You're going to say stick to the top. And just like that, it'll stick to the top. Why don't we set a little bit of offset of maybe 25 pixels and you see how it bumps down a little bit more. That just gives it a little bit more room. And I think that looks quite professional for us. Cool. So there we go. We've got that sticking. And now we're going to deal with this ACF item module we've got right here. Move that over. And we're going to do pretty much exactly the same what we did before when we built our loop layout. So we will go into the design area. We'll go to the item text. And then if I recall, I can see here I bolded the text. I made it the blue. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this nice and bold. And then we'll go ahead and make sure that it's the blue color and not a different color. And then we'll come down here to the spacing. We'll add, I don't know, what was it, 10 pixels of padding top and bottom. Does that sound about right? Yeah, it looks about right. And then maybe 10 on the left and right also. That'll give it that room. We're going to give it a border of about 25. We just wanted to have those nice round corners. And now to see it all come together, we're going to use that position. We're going to say absolute top left. And now when we scroll up, we can see, okay, cool. We got it in there. And there's a couple things we need to do. We need to give it a little bit of an offset so it's not all the way nudged into the corner there. So 10 pixels and 10 pixels. And then if you recall, we need to update that Z index to 4 nines or 3 nines just to make sure that it sits on top of everything else as we go switch these images around. So let's save that. And I want to save the layout really quickly and take a look at the front, but that's just some of the visual builder stuff that we're still working the kinks out on. So if I refresh this, that is certainly not the builder. And I know exactly what this was. We do need to go back. And this is the fun of doing this almost live for you guys, is that we get to deal with the problems together. So if I go on that ACF module, right. So now if I go here down to the sizing, and I did not remember that we did this, but this is the joy. So sizing, that's 100%, but we would just want to tell it 100 pixels is the max width we want to give it. And now we see another thing that we want to make sure that the item text is aligned right in the center there. So when I come over here, yeah, that doesn't look great. But if I save this and save it again, we'll just look over here, refresh, and there we go. Now we're starting to get the effect we want. Maybe we just want to bump up that text size again a little bit to maybe 20 pixels. That is as simple as just coming on our module here, item text, and just gang that up to 20. There we go. And we'll go with semi-bold. The bold's a little bit loud for me. Cool. All right, so we'll save that. So that's all taken care of. So let's deal with the text here on the right-hand side. And we'll start with the heading here. And then we'll just say, okay, cool. We're going to go to the design. Move this out of the way a little bit. Text. We're going to make this semi-bold. And then we want to give it, let's say 26 pixels there. You can make it bigger or smaller. It might also even need a little bit more room there. No, actually, I'm pretty happy. Of course, again, not a design course, but no, actually, you know what? This is not what I want. I do want to go ahead, give it a little bit more padding on the second column. Go back to design, if you recall, from just a little bit ago. And we will go ahead and make this 20 and another 20. Okay, cool. Now things aren't so scrunched up on top of each other. And I think that's going to work much nicer for us. And now we just need to set the colors for the text and make sure that these things are exactly how we want it to look. And maybe we'll bump up the size a little bit as well. So we'll come over here. We're going to go to the design tab. We'll take a look at the image and icon. We're going to use the icon font size. Maybe we'll go to 20 also. And I think we're fine with all of that fun stuff. But then when we go ahead onto the item text, we'll leave it as is with those colors. We can go to recent here. We can see all the other colors that we used. I'm just going to use, actually what we'll do is we'll use the light version of this, and we'll bump up the item text size to about 20. And now the fun thing that we can do is I can save that. And now we'll just go ahead and style the next one exactly the same way. So we'll go to design. We're going to go to image and icon, use the size. We bumped it up to 20. And then we'll come down here to the item text, make it nice and skinny. And again, we'll set our color and then also bump the text up to 20. That should be good. So we'll save that one. And then last but not least, and I know that it's a little frustrating working with this and not being able to see what you're doing. I totally get you on that. It is just one of those quirks with getting all the modules Visual Builder ready and fully integrated with the Visual Builder. It's a bit of a pain, but we are slowly but surely getting there. So we're going to go ahead and use the icon font again. This is just the same thing over and over. Item text. We're going to make it light. We are going to make it blue. And we are going to make it 20. Great. So I'm going to go save that. I'm going to cross my fingers and I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, cool. Now, why did these things not work? Well, it's because this is a phone number, right? So what it'll do when I click it, it's going to try and call it. I'm not going to do that. But that's one of the cool things that you can do. I am going to go and just make sure that I set the link colors. And that's what I didn't do here. So since those are links, we need to make sure that we adjust the value text. So just make sure blue selected there. And then on the email field, we want to do the same thing, design, value text, blue, save, and save. So coming back, we'll refresh. And there we go. Everything exactly. Oops, I clicked the call button again. I just really want to call that fake number. All right, great. So that is looking not fantastic, I'll admit it, but it is functional. It is doing what we want it to do. We are getting to the home stretch of just designing these last few modules. So let's get to it. In the theme builder, I am going to go and copy the module styles here. No, not the module. Right click, copy module styles, because what I can do is here for the information, for example, I can just right click it and say paste module styles. And similarly for the location, paste module styles. Perfect. What we want to do is for this column, the first one right here, I know that we've got a second column here, but it's empty so that we have room for this guy to slide down. I just want to set the background color to white. And we're going to use the same padding settings that we used up here. So I go to spacing. I'm going to put my padding to 20, left and right, top and bottom, well, top, bottom, left, right. That's the right way. And we are going to not add any type of tapering like we did before. The tapering goes on the map column right on the bottom. So we'll get to that in a moment. Great. Now for the title, we are going to give it the blue color. So we'll just go to design, title text, make it blue. And then for this one, I'm going to go ultra bold because it's the title. We want it to stand out a little bit. I'm also going to bump it up to about 34. I think 38 is maybe better. Okay, cool. Happy with that. And that's all we do with that one. Now you can change the alignment. You can do anything you want. And then for the meta, of course, we turned this taxonomy into a button. So let's go into the taxonomy and then design and then button. For the meta value, we're going to use custom styles. And then we can just see it's white with the orange background. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to set the text to white and then the background to orange. And then we just want to make sure that there is no border radius, be it on hover or normal, and there is not. And we also want to make sure that there's no icon. So let's save that and save that. And that should be all we need to do here. We don't have any special alignment. And of course, wishlist button, we are going to be adding that in the Divi Machine accounts module towards the end of the course. So in that chapter, we'll cover that. If you do have Divi Machine accounts, you can follow along. So we are not going to do that now, basically. Cool. So next up, we're just going to get this description ready. So theme builder again. And we are basically going to copy this text style. And with this text style, we're maybe just going to make it a little bit smaller. So getting in there, we're going to go to design. We're going to go to content text. We'll make it light. And we will bump it up about 2. That's perfectly fine. And that is good for me. Now, the one thing we do need to do still is just on that first column, we're going to make the background white. You guys already know this. We've done this enough times now. You're with the program, so I'm just going to make that 20 pixels of padding, top and bottom, and left and right. Perfect. And that's that. Simple, easy, fast, efficient. That's all you guys. Oh, and I noticed that I forgot the price up here. How silly of me. Okay, now the price is something that's going to be obviously a little bit more prominent on the page. We're going to make it a little bit bigger than it was before. I'm going to go to the design. I'm going to go to image and icon. We're going to use the icon font size, and I'm going to go with 38. Let's go crazy. And go down to the actual item text. We'll make sure that it's blue. And we will give this a text size of 34. Let's try that out. We might have to bump that down a little bit, but that's what we're going to do for now. And then also, I just want to make sure that I did set this text to be all prettified. Okay, cool. It's prettified, and we do have the comma separator. I just made sure by typing that in again. So let's save what we've done here. And I just want to verify and make sure that we're doing good still. I'll refresh this. My button doesn't seem to be working the way that I want it to, so I'll make sure that that has been done the correct way. But what I'm most interested in is making sure that the for sale is looking good. So let's click on Deluxe House, View Post. Yeah, I think that's good for the price, to be honest with you. Nice and big and bold, easy to see. All right, so let's figure out what's going on with our post meta here. We'll go in on the taxonomy, design, button meta value. So we've got a button background on here, so that should be fine. We don't have any borders, anything crazy like that. Or maybe it's because we disabled it. I know that's what it is. So here on the main options, remember we turned off link items. Let's see what happens when I turn that on really quickly. Okay, let's refresh. Yep, that's exactly what it was. It's because I turned off the link styles. So if you recall from what we did before, we actually went ahead and added one line of code. I'll link it in the course notes again. But here on custom CSS, we're just going to, it's actually on the taxonomy itself. So let's just turn that off. Let's just go back in. We'll go on taxonomy, advanced, custom CSS, and we'll say pointer dash events colon none semicolon. And that'll make sure that the mouse can interact with that element on the page. And it looked like there was also some design settings we needed to fix, which it added the border in again. So meta, let's just make it explicitly 0 and hover explicitly 0 border radius. And that should resolve any issues that we have. Let's come back here, refresh all this. There we go. Beautiful. All right, man. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. We are making progress. I know this kind of looks like a Frankenstein project. That's all good. It's our Frankenstein project. So we're happy with that. Last thing is just sorting out this last section down here. We'll come on in. We'll go down and open up that column, first column again. Same exact settings. We're going to go with a white background, but we're going to do things slightly differently this time. We are going to put the padding that we want on this actual module, but we're going to still put the border for the bottom at that 15 pixels, if I recall, and 15 pixels, because now we've got this whole thing where it rounds at the top, rounds at the bottom. So there's a little bit of, cohesion for once. So that's all good in the hood. We'll save that. We'll save that. And then what we'll do on this module right here, the text module, we're going to go to the spacing for this one. And then we'll add padding for the top at 20 pixels, padding for the left at 20 pixels. And that's really all we need to do right there with that one, because now everything is in line and it looks gorgeous. So let's save that up. And then let's come up here and bam, just like that, we have everything just the way we wanted. Now we can go a bit further. And I think maybe what we will do is just quickly reduce the spacing between these different sections. It looks a little funky. So it's a little bit closer like these guys are. So the way I'm going to do this is I will remove all the top padding from these rows that we have right here. So I'm going to go design spacing, padding top is going to be 0. That'll bump it up. And then on this one, I'll also go do the same thing, design spacing, padding top 0, scooches it on up. And then the last one, design spacing, padding 0. And that's going to be it. I think we're good. I think we are so good. Okay, so let's come back. We can close this out now. This has been saved already, so we're happy with that. So let's click on Lost and Found, for example. Let's click on Zip again. And here we go. We've got the category, we've got the name, we've got the owner info, the contact info. We've got all the information right here. We have the location. Guys, we've done it. We nailed it. And just to double check for posterity, let's make sure that our for sale items also have all the correct things here. So when I scroll down, I can see that the price is showing up. That's exactly what we wanted it to do. And we've got the location. Everything is perfect, guys. So this has been building out the single classifieds post page. And this is the process you would follow for building out the single page, be it for just one category of your custom post type, be it for different post types, be it for the taxonomy, like item types, for example. That's up to you. You get to control everything here. And now, of course, before we're done here, we also want to make sure that this beautiful layout that we have built is responsive, right? So the easiest way to make sure that this is going to look great on any screen size is to just right click on the page, inspect it. Now, depending on your browser, this process might look a little different. I'm using Chrome. And then what you do is up here in the left top corner, you can just click on the mobile device, drag that out of the way. And then you get this beautiful mobile view. And when I'm scrolling down, I am pretty happy with just the basic way that it looks. That is fine with me. So it looks like there's no mobile settings that we need to go to change and make sure that it's responsive because it's baked right in. And now, so for those of you that have only purchased the Divi Machine license, you don't have Divi Machine accounts or Divi Phone Builder, this of course means this is the end of the course for you. You have all the tools you need to go ahead and build out a classified site or any type of site with some custom data types. Now you know how to build out custom loops. You know what they are, you know how they work, you know the power of being able to do that. You also know how to build out beautiful archive pages with complex Ajax filters, as well as beautiful single custom post type pages for those individual custom classifieds. Now, it doesn't end just there. You've also learned how to create some custom taxonomy. We've showed you how to use conditional logic. It was a lot of information. Now, for those of you that do have Divi Machine accounts, that will be the next optional portion. And what we're going to be doing there is we're going to be building out the beautiful My Account area here with all these things where you can go review your posts that you've submitted. You can see your most recent ones, a lot of cool stuff you can do there. And then for those of you, of course, that have Divi Form Builder, also the chapter after that will cover creating these beautiful forms to go create new custom posts and even how to edit them from your My Account area. So now, for those of you that have either of those two plugins, I'll catch you in those appropriate chapters where you're going to learn to further deepen your classifieds website. And for those of you that don't, it's been a pleasure working with you, and I really hope to see you in some of the other courses or offerings that we will have in the future.